Gaud, hosted by former CTO of Blackbaud, Mary Beth Westmoreland, who has always been so generous in hosting us. But she is transitioning to a new position at Amazon. So perhaps, all things align and we're here tonight, and I'm just glad that we can be. Before we start, I just have to say thank you to our incredible sponsors, particularly Amazon, Boomtown, Catch Talent, Benefit Focus, Vertical Roots, Google, and Charleston Southern University for sponsoring our event tonight. We also have a silent auction and raffle. I put the link to the silent auction and raffle in the chat to everyone. But chat me if you need it again. I will do my best to get it back to you. We have some wonderful items that people were kind enough to procure for us for this event. It's the first time we're doing it, and I'm really excited because they're great things. And I think a lot of people will want to participate in that. So it'll be up the whole time, so you can be, checking in on it. Want to do a 1-minute update on Charleston Women in Tech 2020. We've surpassed 3,000 members to our meetup. You can now find us and sign up and register for us outside of meetup on our own fabulous website, charlestonwomenintech.org. It's actually CHSWomenintech.org. Please check it out and sign up there too, because we want to be able to be the hub outside of meetup. Eventually, we want to transition into a full-fledged website that you guys can refer to often and early to see resources for education and career resources, job boards, and all of those things. So we're growing up. We also have our brand new branded YouTube channel where you can look at all of the events that we've done this year virtually. So that's another kind of a good thing that happened this year, that we were able to record our events. So everyone is able to watch them on our channel. So please check that out. And of course, Slack. We have a great Slack channel now where people are communicating in between meetings, and we're really growing a strengthening community. People are able to find people for positions that are open at their companies, and it's just gotten really, really robust. So do give it a look-see. Now, I have the pleasure to introduce our event tonight. We have some very special speakers, guests, and we have a very special group of newest elected board members that I'm very excited that you will get to be introduced to and get to know tonight. Tonight's theme is Momentum 2021, and that speaks to the energy and growth that continues throughout 2020 into 2021, even stronger with an even more diverse and empowered board. So we hope to connect, support, and prepare more women of all ages and from all backgrounds for careers, successful careers in technology. So now I have the privilege to introduce an OG founding board member. She's a CEO and founder of Catch Talent and leader in the Charleston tech community, Christina Locke, who will be presenting a fireside chat with someone I cannot believe she got to join us tonight. Named one of the most influential women in tech by Fast Company, a tech titan by the Washingtonian, and one of the top 30 women entrepreneurs to follow on Twitter by Forbes for her leadership roles in tech. Founder of Women Who Tech and co-founder of the RAD campaign. Not to mention, she's the author of a book called Social Change Anytime, Everywhere: How to Implement Online Multi-Channel Strategies to Spark Advocacy, Raise Money, and Engage Your Community. Allyson Kapin. Welcome, Allyson.
Thank you, Nina. Yes. As you said, it's with great pleasure that we get to welcome our keynote speaker, Allyson Kapin, to Charleston Women in Tech and our Vingle this evening. Of course, we would have love to have done this in person, but if we had, we may not have had the opportunity to bring Allyson into our fold and into this group this evening. So I've known Allyson for a little more than a year now, and I can tell you firsthand her story, her experience is truly inspiring, especially for all of us that are passionate about women in technology. So I'm excited for her to share that story with you tonight. Nina gave a wonderful background on Allyson's bio, and I wanted to add that she is also a founding partner of the W Fund, which is a VC firm directly investing in outstanding tech startups led by innovative women, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, LGBTQ, and founders who are 50 plus and driving the future of tech. Nina also mentioned that she was named one of the most influential women in tech by Fast Company. And I think you'll find that her passion for the intersection of social change and online technologies and social communities was a topic that she explored in her best-selling book, Social Change, Anytime, Anywhere. So welcome, Allyson, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here and to see everyone.
Absolutely, and we're all, very festive as we like to do around the holidays, and can't believe we're already rounding out 2020. But it's wonderful to see everyone's face. And so, Allyson, I know we spoke just a few days ago. I'd love if you could share with the audience just a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I actually have had an interesting background. I started working for Sony Music in college, which exposed me to how to run grassroots marketing campaigns for alternative music bands. Then I moved to DC for grad school, where I got my master's in multimedia and started working for a nonprofit health organization. And that's really where I got a lot more involved in online advocacy. I was actually part of the first generation of online advocacy campaigners, and we actually helped shut down the White House fax machine, if everybody can remember fax machines, from a petition campaign that we were running. Then in 2004, I co-founded Rad Campaign, which is a social change digital agency, after I got just really frustrated with the lack of digital agencies who really didn't understand what nonprofits and foundations needed to scale social justice movements. So since then, we've been working with very small and some of the largest organizations that are just really deeply committed to changing the world, ranging from environmental organizations to reproductive justice organizations. And we focus on building dynamic websites and apps and advocacy and fundraising campaigns that specifically focus on really building people power movements. And then in 2008, I founded Women Who Tech. And earlier this year, Kate Brodick, who I think may be on right now, she and I co-founded the W Fund to invest in women and overlooked founders who just have been traditionally excluded by VCs in Silicon Valley. So that's a bit about my background and where I come from.
Really great to hear that. And obviously, as you mentioned, in 2004, it sounds like that was your first exploration into really being an entrepreneur. What was your biggest challenge or obstacle that you faced early on in your career, or maybe early on as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I knew right out of college that I wanted to run my own company, but people told me I was too young, I was too inexperienced. And I have to tell you that I just found that super annoying, because how many people say that to young programmers? How many people said that to Mark Zuckerberg when he was launching Facebook? So as soon as I saw an opportunity to fill a gap in the agency world, to really scale social justice movements with tech, I left my job, a few years after grad school and launched Rad Campaign, and I just never looked back.
I love that story. And I think a lot of us are probably in that same boat, right? Tell us we can't do something, and, we'll really show the world.
That's right.
You mentioned, and just leaning into your story around the Rad Campaign, which it sounds like was your initial start. What originally drew you to the nonprofit and philanthropic community?
So I really have been an activist at heart for like as long as I can remember, like, going back to middle school and high school and college. Just, I was like raising money for reproductive justice organizations through benefit concerts and art gallery shows. So that's really kind of like where I found my passion. And then moving to DC, where the heart of politics and power was really, really exciting for me, just going to grad school here. And I have just had this passion for working with nonprofits who really just want to solve the biggest problems that are facing this world, and combining my passion for tech to do that, to help them scale movements and win these advocacy campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have that close to our hearts, and obviously Women in Tech being a nonprofit and really wanting to advocate for, what we have here in the Charleston community and beyond. What would you say has been one of your most successful campaigns? I don't know if it's easy to drill it down to one or two, but what has been maybe your one that's been really close to your heart?
I mean, all of them are really close to my heart, but I'll talk to you about a recent one. So this election cycle, we got to work with Rock the Vote, which is an incredible nonpartisan organization that has one goal, and that is to register as many young voters in this country. And we came in probably the last 3 months of the election cycle, which is the most insane part of the election cycle. Plus, this all happened during COVID, right? So completely unprecedented times in terms of not just registering people to vote, but then like, how are you going to get people, once they're registered to vote safely in person? So we worked with them the last 3 months of the campaign. We were literally inserted right into the team, working with them day and night on their tech strategy and figuring out how we were going to get all of these young voters registered to vote, especially first-time voters. And I have to tell you, from the numbers that we're seeing, we have seen record number of youth voter turnout. So I am just so excited that we got to be a part of that. And just, hopefully this is building a new movement in this country in terms of getting more young voters out to vote and making their voices feel very heard.
Absolutely. Such a worthy cause. And as you said, hopefully reinvigorating, the young population to vote. I know even my 8-year-old was, hoping to cast his vote as it was talked about in his school. So that'll carry on, hopefully 10 years from now.
That's right. You got to start early.
That's so true. Your success with the RAD campaign led to the launch of Women Who Tech. And so it not only focuses on women in the field of technology, but it's also brought together a very diverse group of engineers, startup investors. I think I saw Ariana Huffington was at one of these startup challenges. How was this idea conceptualized?
Yeah, so I started Women Who Tech, over a decade ago, to really focus on casting a spotlight on the lack of women panelists and keynote speakers at tech conferences. I had spoken with several tech conference organizers at the time who said that they didn't know many women in tech, which I found like very confusing and frankly just lazy. So within a few days of having these conversations, I launched Women Who Tech with the goal of bringing together a community of women who were just breaking new ground in technology to transform the world and inspire change. And the first program that I produced was actually the Women Who Tech Telesummit that you just mentioned, which brought hundreds of women and some men, some allies, together online for a virtual day-long conference. And it featured inspiring women like Ariana Huffington, who built her own incredible empire. Rashmi Sinha was the co-founder of SlideShare, which exited to LinkedIn. the impact, it was felt immediately. Like more women in tech felt like they could be finally a part of a conference and a community that they could relate to. And that really enabled them to have these very frank discussions with other people who were just going through similar experiences. And after hosting Women Who Tech Tell Us summits for a few years and doing these networking events across the US and in Europe, we began to take a look at the space, and there were a lot of other women in tech organizations that had grown, and which was absolutely wonderful. But we wanted to take a step back and really evaluate what are the other obstacles that are holding women in tech and women founders back. And we learned that while code is power, the power becomes more diluted if women don't have access to capital to scale their tech products. And that's when we launched the Women's Startup Challenge in partnership with Craig Newmark to really focus on disrupting a culture and economy that just made it exceedingly difficult for women-led ventures to get funding. And that's what we have been focusing on the last few years.
That's so exciting to hear, and that this platform is out there. I'm not a technology company, but just knowing that that is offered to companies that we're working with, as well as many across the Charleston community, the Southeast. And I know part of what we've talked about, Allyson, is your focus on bringing the VC money outside of just Silicon Valley, and focusing on areas on the East Coast, in the Southeast. What has been your experience in terms of the type of companies that you've seen in those geographic areas?
So I can talk about what we've seen with our Women's Startup Challenge program, and what we've been seeing with the W Fund. I have to tell you that all of these startups that we have worked with are just so awesome. I mean, they're so innovative, they're solving significant problems, and they should be getting funding, ASAP. Like, they're working across all sectors: health tech, education tech, environmental tech, fintech, every industry that you can imagine. And I'll give a couple of examples of startups that we have been particularly really excited about. So one startup is from our Women's Startup Challenge program that I have just long admired is Open Bionics, and they create 3D printed artificial limbs that are themed with superhero designs for children. And they have solved the problem of outfitting artificial limbs for children of all ages, which historically has actually been quite problematic because children grow at such a rapid pace that fitting the prosthetics has been very challenging, and it has been very expensive. So with 3D printing, they have been able to solve that problem and print it in a really cool way using superhero designs at a fraction of the cost. Like, they have taken down that cost, what used to be $25,000 to $5,000. So just an incredible work, coming out of this startup, women founded, based in the UK. Another startup here in the US that we're also very, very excited about came from the Women's Startup Challenge program, and actually was one of our first deals that we funded through the W Fund, is Forte Fit. And they have developed a B2C white label SaaS platform for gyms and fitness studios to really live stream fitness classes on demand. You can think of them as like a hybrid between Netflix, where you can pick and choose your fitness classes on demand 24/7 from your favorite gym, and Peloton's like super slick features where you can track your workouts, leverage leaderboards and fitness challenges with your friends in a super social way. We loved Forte Fit prior to COVID, as they were really helping gyms go digital for their members who also wanted to work out at home or when they traveled. And then they just radically scaled and took off during COVID-19 because obviously so many gyms were not open to the public. And they have saved so many gyms and studios from going out of business. I'd say like the secret sauce that we really look for in our startups, whether that be through our Women's Startup Challenge program or the W Fund, is really finding startups that are focused on solving problems that others haven't figured out yet and are really democratizing sectors and providing access. So that's kind of what we look for and we're really excited about, and funding outside of Silicon Valley.
I love that. Yes. And it's so interesting, how COVID is going to change just how we do business. And you mentioned Forte. I mean, that's never going to go away. I think just having the opportunity to live stream your workout, there's going to be a remote workforce that is really going to tap into that. So that's exciting to hear. And I love one of your quotes that, the next Jeff Bezos is going to be a female and you intend to fund her.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite quotes that you say. So hopefully, one of those is exactly what that's going to be.
It absolutely is. I really believe that right now, the next Facebook, the next Amazon, it is being created in this very moment. And it is being created, I believe, outside of Silicon Valley and possibly right here in Charleston, right? We also think it's being created by a woman or an overlooked founder. And we are just so excited at the W Fund, to find them, to fund them and support them through their exit.
That's great. Yes. And, I saw an article recently just how women especially have been the ones that have left their corporate job or been forced to take on the caretaker, and how that has sparked innovation, actually, where they've started their own company. So, in the face of adversity, that does spark, innovation and all these new ideas. So relative to that, how has COVID affected your fundraising efforts and or the Women's Startup Program with Women Who Tech?
Yeah, so it's definitely was an interesting time to be raising a fund, right? But we were prepared for the worst because of COVID. But actually, it's been pretty great. People have been very excited about our investment thesis. Most people are investing in our fund based on our track record of being in tech, having the largest pipeline to women-led startups, to particularly also for women of color, LGBTQ founders over 50. So there is no other fund out there that has the pipeline that we do because of the work Kate and I have been doing for all of these years. So yeah, people are just very, very excited to be investing in the W Fund. And, we're just, like I said, one of the few funds out there that this is what you are interested in funding, the next generation of founders who are driving the future of tech, and you want to make money, and you are specifically interested in funding women founders and people of color. We are that fund.
That's incredible. And I think diversity and inclusion is on everyone's mind more so than ever. So what do you think 2021 and beyond will hold for a female entrepreneur or a minority founder who have an idea that they want to launch?
Sure. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? It's really, really tough to be raising capital, but it is like a million times tougher if you are not a white man. So I'll just give you an example, like just in Q3, funding for women-led startups went down by 30%, and only 2.7% of investor money went to women-led startups in the first place. So it's not like we were working from a place like where tons of women were getting funded. And to see that really sharp decline just in Q3 alone go down by 30% is very alarming. However, on the bright side, we are seeing several new emerging fund managers like the W Fund launch their own funds to really change the face of venture capital and its culture and to make it a lot more equitable. So that gives me hope going into 2021. I also hope that this is the year that more people are going to put their money where their mouth is. We have been talking about the lack of funding for women, for Black and Latinx founders for far too long. And I think we need less talk and a lot more action. And I think it needs to come from the business side. I'm all about investing in philanthropic initiatives, but we need to invest in businesses that are driving our economy, that are driving the future of tech. And I think that it is absolutely critical that we focus our resources on there as well.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So absolutely, I think we all agree. And your audience right now is a group that is very passionate about women in technology and really speaking to that initiative and starting at a very young age, elementary school, high school, into their careers. So how can this group get involved if they're interested in whether it be Women Who Tech or the W Fund? How would you suggest this group getting involved?
Sure, absolutely. So I am happy to talk with anyone who's interested in learning about investing in the W Fund. We launched this fund to not only invest in just outstanding founders who are driving innovation, who also happen to be women and Black and Latinx and LGBTQ or founders over 50, but really this is about building women's economic power. Women can sometimes get intimidated about investing, but it's actually one of the most empowering things that you can do with your money to literally change the world. And of course, make money. That's a big thing too. So like I said, if anybody wants to talk with me, even if you have never invested before, it's actually a lot easier than you think to become a limited partner in a fund, or even just to start angel investing. I am happy to, and so is Kate, to have that conversation with you and walk you through that process. Whether you're ready now, whether you're ready in 6 months or 12 months, I always believe in kind of getting that education now so that you can prepare for that journey. And then of course, if anybody wants to talk about getting involved with our nonprofit, Women Who Tech, I am absolutely happy to chat about that too. The best way to get a hold of me is through email, and I'll put that in the chat in a minute. And that would be Allyson, ALLYSON @wrule.bc.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love your obviously passion behind teaching women to invest. I think even in college and as you're coming into your career, I mean, I had a manager that actually taught me about a 401k. So it's just the educational piece and making sure that you have really strong mentors that can guide you along the way in your professional and financial career. So these are more just for fun type questions, Allyson, but what is one of your favorite holiday traditions?
So honestly, I know it sounds maybe like a little boring, but I just like being with my family and hanging out with them and cooking with them. I don't have any like specific really cool traditions that I think maybe some other folks do. I think that by the time I get to the holidays, I just want to like completely decompress because it's like has been such a year, right? Just like running a firm, working with startups, advising them, investing in them. So by the time the holidays come around, I just really just want to just hang with my family and just be with them and cook and just like not think about everything else.
I think that, I mean, if this year has taught us anything, it's about simplicity and enjoying time with family. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll all be right there with you. Um, if you could own a second home anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, definitely. So I would love to have a second home by the beach, anywhere by the beach. I grew up in Miami and I realized how much I took for granted living near the ocean. When I moved to DC, this is not an area with oceans. And so I like constantly dream about having a second house by the beach. So that's where
We
I would be.
welcome you to Charleston any day.
Thank you. I know you all are by the beach. Don't take it for granted.
Anytime you want to come down to a live event, you are more than welcome. I'm sure
I would
everyone
love it. I would absolutely love it.
Anything else, just parting comments or any thoughts that you'd like to leave with us today? We're all so appreciative of your time, especially in the evening. After a long day and a long year, we are really grateful for sharing your knowledge and experience.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm just so excited about all of the work that you all are doing down in Charleston. I think you had mentioned earlier that it's grown to over 3,000 members. That is phenomenal. I am just like so excited to see what you all do next, and also like how we can support you. And I'm excited to also just see the startups coming out of Charleston. I think the South is a huge area that has also been overlooked by Silicon Valley. And Kate and I are extremely excited about funding startups in the South, and looking also at startups specifically in Charleston. So please send them our way, and yeah.
Will do. Yes, that is our mission. So there are we're looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone. Join me in thanking Allyson for her time this evening. And I know you're going to put your contact information if anyone has specific questions or wants to reach out to you directly. So we appreciate it, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you. Nina, would you like to take it from here?
I'm ready. Thank you, Allyson. Ah, so inspiring. I'm so excited now about investing and learning more about how to do that for women, and learning more about your fund. Thank you very much, Allyson. So now we go to another stellar woman in tech here in Charleston. Trying to do a couple things at once here. She has kindly agreed to moderate our next program, which will be a Q&A open mic presentation to introduce our 9 newest board members. Please welcome Nina Sossamon Pogue.
Hi, ladies. It's an honor to be here and to be with you. I think some of you may know me from my 12 plus years at Benefit Focus. I see some familiar faces up there. I also was on TV here in Charleston for a long time at Channel 2 and Channel 4. Recently left that, and I've written a couple of books, and I'm sort of on a new journey. So I was thrilled to be able to jump in and be part of this evening. And I had a chance to talk with some of your new board members and your panelists. So I'm going to, as we start this, what I'd like to do is just kind of quickly go through and mention who's going to be on there. And we'll talk a little bit more about what everybody brings to the table as we go to specific questions, if that works for everybody. So where I'd like to start, and if we can maybe put it so we can see everybody, if you would throw your hand up so folks can see you. I'm just going to go quickly through who our panelists are this evening. It's a big group. First, we have Kim Rich, who's the Executive Director in the Office of Development at NUSC. Kim, if you can put a hand up. And Suzie Rybicki, she's the VP of People and EIR Operations at Fish Labs. Suzie, put a hand up. And then Jessica Jones, the Director of Operations at Vertical Roots.
Jackie Jones. I know, Nina, I know you love me so much, but that is Jackie Jones. She had Jessica on the brain for sure.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Jackie. I did write that, didn't I? Okay. Well, it's just like the whole vertical root thing. I just can't get past Jessica. I don't know. So thank you, Jackie. We'll get that right going forward. All right. And then Rachel Downing, who I've known at Benefit Focus. She's the Director of Customer Success Management at Benefit Focus. She has on a lovely hat this evening. We find her. And then Stephanie Kelly Jordan. She's the Senior Computer Scientist at Navwar. I think she is here this evening. Another new board member for all of you is Jessica Hudson. She's the Chief of Staff and Controller at Impact. And Jenifer Padilla, Senior UX Designer at Paylocity, if she can put a hand up. And Dr. Jenifer Albert, she's the Director of the STEM Center of Excellence at the Citadel. Also, Christine Washington, the Director of Sales Engineering at Blackbaud. I know I saw her face smiling, her smiling face earlier. And then our youngest member of the board, Anna Lehman, who's a sophomore at Porter Gaud. She does Charleston Girls in Tech. She's the president of that. You throw a hand up, Anna. So nice to see everybody. So what we talked about a little bit as we had our prep call for this is, you know, this has been a really interesting year for all of us. I'm sure that none of us got up in 2020 and I know I did. I look back at what my goals were for 2020 and what I wanted to accomplish. Like nobody said survive a pandemic and still be employed. Like that wasn't really what we were going for. So we all had to make some big changes this year. And so some of what we want to talk about in this panel is the changes that we've made and how we've gotten through them. And then also as we look forward to 2021, what's on everybody's minds, but what does this group bring to the table to help you with all of those things? So I'm going to start with this group and the thought that this group has a place for everyone. One of the things that came about was several folks mentioned that they really appreciate this being a safe space, this being a place for women in tech and what that means to them. So I'd like to start with Christine Washington and throw the first question out to her. You know, give a demanding job, you're a mother. It has been a tough year for everyone. You said that you like this group because it's a place you can be vulnerable. I'm sure there's a lot of other working moms homeschooling and pulling their hair out and can't wait till the world gets back. What do you mean by that, Christine?
Well, it's been an interesting year for sure, for everyone. What I mean by that is, as a network of like-minded women, we have an opportunity to bring our whole selves, our strengths, our challenges, to this community. And this group has so much to offer. And I think when you can be honest, be vulnerable, and share your experiences, one, you can validate the experiences of others. So many of us share in these experiences, especially this year, the challenges of being a working woman. Some of us are mothers. We all have, demanding jobs. It's a challenge. I think we can make real connections. And I think we can learn something new and even inspire others. An example of this is the Ignite sessions that we've had in some of our events in the past, which I've always enjoyed. Seeing women up there telling their stories, sharing their experiences. I mean, it doesn't get more vulnerable than that, to stand in front of a room of people and talk about lessons that you've learned. So I enjoy that about this group. I look forward to fostering more of that in this group. And boy, do we need it. We need that connection now more than ever.
Yeah, it's been such an honest time for all of us to come to terms, be honest with ourselves, and have a place like this, like you said, where you can be a little more vulnerable and be honest with the people around you who are also maybe going through some tough challenges that you're going through, or excited about things that you're excited about. So
absolutely.
Let me throw it over to Stephanie. So from computers, we talked a lot about being a computer scientist. So Stephanie, you've done everything from cybersecurity to DevOps to systems engineering. And when we talked a little bit, you talked about this intentional vulnerability, or this failing forward. Share a little bit about that with this group, because I think that is something that certainly this group is an opportunity. This brings that opportunity to the table.
Hey, sure. Good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, to be around just like accomplished, like-minded women. It's definitely just something great. Just my heart swells with pride and everything. So, in talking about intentional vulnerability, there's this thing in your heart that you have to push yourself to make connections. I know for me, I'm a natural introvert. Like if I were not on the call right here, I'm just quiet as a church mouse. Honestly, I'm just to myself a lot of the time. But I had to learn firsthand very early that, it's always important to ask for help. And in order to ask for help, you have to trust yourself and knowing where you can go, your boundaries, and kind of learning more about yourself. I learned that wherever you're at in your career or any type of life achievement, you never get to that point where you have arrived. You're always learning something more and more about yourself. I definitely learned this in 2020. So I am, I'm not a mom, but I am an auntie. My niece, she's 7 years old, her name's Aubrey. She's doing the virtual learning, as I'm also doing virtual learning through grad school, getting my second master's degree in data science and analytics from Charleston Southern. So typically my grandparents will watch my niece during the day, but since she's back in school, I didn't want my grandparents to have to deal with the burden of technology, things like that. They're in their 80s and I didn't want them to deal with that. So I had to really push myself to say, okay, I'm not a mom. And I felt like very vulnerable and I felt like an imposter in a sense, because I'm like, I'm not a mom. I can't share in this experience. But you're more, when you're helping your community, it takes a village to raise a child. And I know we hear that a lot sometimes. But when one person hurts, we all hurt. When you give yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable in that sense, that you share what you have, your resources, to build a bigger community. And that's why I'm really big on community outreach and everything. So long story short, my niece and I were doing all right. We're hanging in there. The first 2 weeks was like, me being in IT, my heart went out to all the teachers, because at my niece's particular school, you have a teacher that's teaching online virtual students as well as the ones that are physically present. So my heart just goes out to all of them. And also with being vulnerable, you have to give yourself room for failure, because with room for failure, you open yourself up to have reflection. And with that reflection, you can allow yourself to give yourself opportunities for success and leverage that, I know for me, I fell forward on my face a lot of times when trying to, communicate with my niece. A lot of times I'm always communicating with adults. My niece is like the only 7-year-old in the family. Like she's literally the only kid there, So I had to really talk to her in her 7-year-old kind of like understanding. And yeah, I tell her all the time, like, look, Auntie's gonna mess up, but we're in this together. And so I always just allow myself to just fail forward and use that opportunity as something to leverage for strength and everything. And also just make sure that you surround yourself around people that know you, the true, authentic, intrinsic you, and that will help you find the voice that calls out and says, you can do it, you can make it. Because with failure, you'll hear more voices saying, nah, don't do this. You did this before, give up. But you really just make sure that, you surround yourself with folks that know who you are. And most importantly, you have to believe in the person that you are like intrinsically created to be, So that's some of the lessons I've learned in the past, 9 months and going in this, but I'm looking forward to learning more and more challenges as we go, because, we got 2021, it's every day, it's a present, so we just have to look at it as such, so again, it's an honor and a pleasure to talk with everyone here.
And you said community, and that is so important. You do have this community to be a part of, and it's something that
right
now we need more than ever, because to have a place where we can have shared experiences and have conversations. And you mentioned, Allyson talked about this as well, not being afraid to fail or not getting frustrated when things come at you. When you don't have a community to tap into, when you start questioning yourself, whether it's imposter syndrome, like you talked about, or like Allyson was saying, people just telling her she was too young to do that. it's nice to have a community to go, hey, am I thinking right here? Like, tell me what's really happening. So thank you for those thoughts. And you're a great auntie. There's several things in the chat there saying what a great auntie you are. Yes. I want to switch over to Kim Rich now. Now, one of the things that I've learned about this group and all the amazing women in it is that not everybody is in the same space. So in the nonprofit space, Kim comes to us from that space. What about the non-engineers in this group? What makes this group special, and what can you share about the opportunities in this specific tech space for folks like what you're doing? And tell us a little bit more about what you're doing these days, Kim, because you've had a really great career.
Sure. Thanks, Nina. And I just want to echo Stephanie's thoughts here and say how excited I am to be here and be part of this board. This has been an organization that's been near and dear to my heart for several years. And this event, I never miss this event if I can help it. So I'm so happy that we're able to do this virtually tonight. Yeah, I'm in the not-for-profit space development. I'm the executive director of advancement services at the Medical University here in Charleston. And I've been in not-for-profit, I hate to admit this, but more than 20 years in this space. I've done a little bit of everything. I started off as, I actually started off as an administrative assistant at the Crisis Intervention of Middle Tennessee, which is in Nashville. And I worked my way up. And in that time, I've always leaned into the tech, into the data portions of that. And I've seen how it has truly transformed my work and what I do. I find my passion is in marrying technology and the data science piece with passionate fundraisers who are building partnerships, because that's what fundraising, that's what this space is all about. So when I find those folks, it's really makes it my life more exciting, and that's what I live for. And you know, for those at the beginning of your careers, or you're looking for a change possibly, my recommendation would be to look in the not-for-profit space, because there's a lot of opportunities where you can bring your creativity as well as your innovation, and you can really grow in this space. I started off, again, I hate to admit this, floppy disks and DOS in the good old days.
Back in the day.
And taught myself, just a couple of days ago, and taught myself how to use a computer, and taught myself how to use a database, and figured out what it took to be successful and to help my organizations be successful. So what I particularly love about Charleston Women in Tech is that it brings us all together, and we're all at different levels of our careers, and we bring different things to the table, and we different perspectives in the way that we've used our different skills. And, you know, this gives you an opportunity to really marry those skills, broaden your education, you know, consider positions that may be outside of that technology piece or the traditional technology pieces. And the networking and the mentoring here, the opportunities are amazing. So please take advantage of those. I'm doing a little sales pitch, I guess, but please take advantage of those, because together, you know, we are and will continue to be great together. And that's what makes it so exciting to be part of such a robust group. And I guess my other piece of advice is just look for positions that are outside the norm, because they may give you an opportunity to grow in ways that you can't even imagine yet. So stick with it.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. And you made a perfect segue into the next person I was going to jump to, Jessica Hudson, who's a chief of staff, but she's not just this. She's a great example of this isn't just tech people, because she has an accounting background. So Jessica, share with us a little bit about your background and what you see as the important takeaways for this group.
Sure. Hi. My background, like she said, is in accounting. I actually was in public accounting, and then worked in litigation support, fraud investigation accounting. And I actually started in 2014. Yeah, 2014 at Spark, where Christina Locke actually was one of the hiring HR leads. So small world. And she actually got me the job that I'm at now, which is at Impact. It's a charitable giving platform that integrates with banks and loyalty providers. So I've always been in the accounting world, but I've been in the tech space for the last 6-ish years. It's been a very exciting journey because I'm learning a lot, because we went from Spark to Booz Allen to now that I'm at Impact. They're all very different companies and they're all very different tech world companies. So I'm learning a lot, and I'm excited about this group because I at first was nervous because I'm not a tech person. I mean, I know how to use an iPhone, but I'm not a tech person by any means. So I'm excited about the opportunity to learn more from the women in this group and also be able to represent a side of the tech world that is not just a developer or cybersecurity or other DevOps.
Excellent. Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing. And you and I spoke briefly. When I was in tech, I'm from a communications background. So I was like you, having to kind of learn the language enough to where I could have a good conversation, but I was never going to pretend that I knew what many of the people on this call know. Yeah. Well, let's switch gears for a moment now. So we talked about what the different things, the different areas of or careers that people are bringing to the table and what this group has to offer. There are also some challenges. Let's talk a little bit about just the challenges of being a woman in tech. It's you know, as we heard Allyson say, there's a lot of good old boys, and being a white male and getting funding is a whole lot easier than any other way of getting funding. And since you can't change that in most cases, we got to figure out a way around it. There's a few people on this call who have been in their careers for quite a while and have seen some of those challenges and overcome them, and really have advice, I think, for some of the younger folks in the group or people earlier on in their career. Let's talk more about those challenges. I want to start with Rachel Downing, because I've known Rachel for a long time. She's been in this space for many years. She has grown children who have had great success. So she managed to parent children that went on to be very successful while being a successful woman in her own career. So can you talk a little bit about being successful regardless of all the obstacles that you faced? And love the hat, Rachel.
Thanks, Nina. I appreciate it. I told Nina when I first joined, I had to do something to get everybody to smile. So this is my little fun Santa hat that I have. I'm an animal print person, so I had to have my leopard print there. Hope you guys enjoy it. I did want to just echo again my thanks for all of you who joined tonight for this session. I'm very excited. I have worked with Jessica for many years and have always been there with her when we were at the Charleston and Tech meetings, along with Mary Beth, and just found those very inspiring and love getting to network with all of these different folks. And for those of you who consider yourselves non-tech, that is absolutely a value to all of us who are tech, because you guys will start the conversation. I can promise you we won't, okay? So as Nina mentioned, I've been in the technology industry now, specifically as a software developer by trade, for over 36 years. So my hat might be hiding my gray, but I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the challenges that we've been able to overcome. And while all of you who are up and coming in this industry may have a little bit better situation, we still face a lot of challenges as women in technology. As I was raising my 4 daughters, I used to tell them, don't marry a doctor, be a doctor. And 2 of them actually took it to heart and are actually physicians. So it's exciting to see them fight for the success of being in fields that are still predominantly dominated by men. And they, I would encourage them, and I would encourage you to always find their voice. As women, I've been told that I was emotional, and I would usually correct my peers and let them know that I'm not emotional, I'm passionate. And there's a difference between those 2 things. So be passionate about what you believe in, find your voice, speak up. It's something that obviously, you know, it's a way for you to get the recognition that you deserve. There are many of us in this group who have experienced situations that we can help mentor on, but we also have situations ourselves that many of you can help us with. So I think as a group of women in this technology field, in software development, in the Charleston area or otherwise for some of you, I think that it is a great opportunity for us to leverage each other as that community of resources that we really need to be successful. And I'll close by saying that I have found 2020 to really allow me to embrace our ability to connect without being in the same room. I was always an in-person meeting in the office every day, did not like working remote, did not like being on the phone, getting used to looking at my face on video, which is a big challenge for, for me anyway. So I've overcome those. And I now embrace video on all of my calls. I encourage others to as well. And I think it's an opportunity for us to connect without having that extra burden of trying to get ourselves to a location, especially when we have family commitments and otherwise at home. So I would encourage all of you to embrace that. I would embrace, smaller meetings and connections. I noticed that there's some meetup information already in the chat. I've signed up for that as well, and I'm starting to get those invites. So I would just encourage you to leverage this technology to enable you to connect even more frequently and with more people, regardless of where you physically are. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Great advice all around. My daughter's getting out I know you have two daughters who are doctors. My daughter's a senior this year at Elon University, and she's getting out in data analytics. So she took that route, same sort of thing I shared with her.
Awesome.
So same sort of advice. Don't go, marry an engineer. Go be one. Go do that. So, love strong women. And as you opened up the door for me to kind of jump to the next person on my list here, Ben, you talked about people in this group supporting each other. I'd like to jump over to Suzie Rybicki. She's a vice president of people, so she knows this piece. And as we talked earlier, she said it's good to have this group for the type of networking and sharing stories and opportunities, both stories of hardship, but then the opportunities. Who matters. And so Suzie, if you could share a little bit more about your work and what you have and some thoughts for this group.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I think from my perspective, having a career in HR for over 25 years, I've done a ton of recruiting throughout. And I think the biggest challenge I've recognized, especially in recruiting for a technology company, is that the best part about recruiting typically is getting employee referrals, because those are folks that are somewhat vetted. They're probably going to fit within the culture. They have a history of being a strong performer. But like I said, the challenge with technology companies is then those referrals are coming from typically a male-dominated pool of employees. So we continue to hire a lot of the same looking people. And let's face it, it's a lot of middle-aged white men. And so that's been really, really hard for me working at Fish Labs, is saying, okay, we need to do something different. We can't continue to replicate what we have here. And, getting that culture of openness and finding others within the community. And that's why I love this Charleston Women in Tech group so much. And I'm so excited to help participate and add some, some additional value to the board and to this group, because I've actually seen great success just for me personally, hiring someone on my team that I met at one of these events that Fish Labs sponsored and hosted a couple of years ago. So when I think about this group in particular, I have never been so inspired by seeing so many amazing women lift other women up, and that idea of always paying it forward and that being contagious. So I think that we'll continue to evolve as a group. And I would just also encourage everyone, if you don't know everyone on the call today, start networking, start to get to know them, because we all know of open jobs, whether it's for the job that we're in or the company we work for, or another company locally, or even, with all the remote work, there may be other jobs throughout the US. It's always good to know someone, whether you're looking for a job today or just want to add value to anything. So I'm really excited about that.
Excellent. Thank you, Suzie. I do think that the opportunities, and she made a good point, if you don't know everybody on this call, let's make sure that you're looking through all those faces and writing down some names and make a new friend. We're all here and spending our time this evening. This is great advice from all of these really amazing women, but also make sure that you connect with a few people and follow up. Don't let the end of this call be the end of the opportunity that you get from an event like this. I wanted to jump to Jenifer. She's in the UX space at the Citadel, in the Office of Stem Cell Excellence. No, she's at Paylocity. I'm sorry, two Jenifers. So Jenifer Padilla, she's a senior UX designer. Talk to me a little bit about Jenifer, what you think as a member of this group, what you think people in this on this call or people wrapping up this year should be thinking about as being a part of this group and what not only, this group offers, but what they bring to the table themselves?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have already said it. Suzie was just talking about lifting women up and make sure you reach out and ask for help, is what Stephanie was also talking about, and just utilizing the resources we have. We have also a really good Slack channel too, like speaking out on there and saying, hey, does anybody have 30 minutes to chat? I'm trying to find a job in this area. Does anybody have any ideas? Anytime I see anything like that, I'm like, I'll ping like 10 of my friends and say, hey, do you want to talk to this person? It's fun to help other people. So yeah, I think Women in Tech provides so many opportunities. You just have to get it. You have to show up. That's all you have to do, is really just show up.
Excellent. I'm going to jump back to you when I talked a little bit about what we've learned from our hardships this year. So be ready for that one, Jenifer. Let's jump to the other, Dr. Jenifer Albert now. From Jenifer to Jenifer, tell me a little bit about your thoughts as you listen to this conversation and what this group does for members of this group and how it's part of the bigger picture of what we're all going through.
I think it's amazing that there is so much amazing reach. We're helping to build the pipeline, and Anna's a great example, and some of the new initiatives that we have is we're trying to build the next generation of women in tech, as well as enhancing, who we already have, and then making them better, more successful leaders as well. So we have that entire pipeline that we're working through, and it's been so amazing to watch. And as everybody said, it's been a really great group to meet people and to connect with people. I came to Charleston in 2015. This was one of the first things that I did coming to Charleston. So when Spark was, still what Spark used to be, it was, one of the first places that I ever went. And I mean, the people that I met there are still really good friends and have, gained more year after year. So it's an amazing group, and I cannot thank you all enough.
We're so happy to have you on the board with all these other amazing women. You were a teacher actually for a while too. I saw when I went through, you had a few years of teaching, and now you're in this STEM space. So you are really focused on this next generation of people who are coming into this. And that leads me to to Anna. Anna, get ready, you're going to you. So that leads me to our young member of this group who is, I believe, a sophomore at Gaud. And I would love to hear from you, Anna, what you're excited about being part of this group, what this means to you to be in here and be part of this discussion.
Sure. Well, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much. I am really enjoying this meeting space right now and hearing from so many empowering women. And it just makes me honestly excited for my future as a woman, hopefully in the technology field. And every time I feel like I am introduced to more powerful women like we have on this call, I feel like I really want to. I want to put all of my time, my energy into becoming a better person to even better the technology field. So just being here is just really what's making me excited for the future, no matter what career path I go down. And I'm super involved with cybersecurity. So I'm looking to one day do something with that, which is really exciting to me, and somehow incorporate that with my love of learning languages. I've learned Chinese since first grade, and I want to continue to do that through college and the rest of my life. So I appreciate everybody here inspiring me to continue to be a woman in technology.
Excellent. Thank you, Anna. And you're beautiful, and I can tell you're brilliant. And I'm just so excited about our future, because our generation has kind of screwed things up in many ways. So we're counting on you in the future to fix some of the stuff that's been a little off rails in the last few years. But you seem quite fabulous. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing. It's a wonderful breath of fresh air. It's great.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit now, and we have looked at this unprecedented year, all of us, and we've heard that word way too much. People do the air quotes, unprecedented year that we've just gone through. But our worlds have changed. We have more remote working, you know, as Rachel and other people mentioned, we're getting better at that and doing that from home. And people who weren't comfortable with it have gotten comfortable with it just because there wasn't really an option. And we also have made changes that we actually want to keep, like maybe the remote learning and other things we've dealt with that we can't wait to get back to. I do have a few friends who are homeschooling, who say, or doing, you know, home learning, who say, I just want to go to an office. I just want to leave my house and go sit in a quiet office and work. So there's a little bit of both of that. And so I'd like to open it up, and I'm going to ask folks to put a hand up on the panel of our panelists. We're going to stay with our panelists who would like to share their thoughts on that. But as we look at this unprecedented year, what has worked? What are some of the wins we've gotten this year in the midst of all of this? And then as you look at 2021, what you be the futurist for a moment, prophesize for us what you think the years, are they going to be hiring? What does the year ahead look like in your world that you're living in? Share a little bit with the group. And well, I'm going to ask for a show of hands, but I did tell Jenifer I'd go back to her. So Jenifer, if you don't mind, Padilla, let me go back to you and give me your thoughts on that. What have you learned this year, and what does the year ahead look like, do you think?
I think I just learned that I can even reach out even more. You know, I think I have the luxury of a little bit more time. I joined a fully remote company that was fully remote before the pandemic, and so it's very skilled at giving you the tools that you need to communicate. And so I feel like I'm given back. I've been given back a little bit of time. Even though I do have a 4-year-old at home that we're just homeschooling, you know, but thank God there's no virtual learning for that. But and I'm able to connect with other communities, like a whole nother Slack community. And tomorrow I have a meeting with someone in California who's new into the UX world and wants to talk to someone who's in it. And, you know, just I love making the time for that and getting these random opportunities just pop up. And you know, attending virtual events in Orlando that my manager organized, and he's in Orlando, and just having the opportunity to do that has been really cool. Because one of the speakers was from NASA. I mean, and then tonight having speakers that we might not normally have, that was incredible to have Allyson. So I think for me, that's been really exciting. And I just feel like I've been able to focus on you know, myself a little bit more in a way also, so.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Jenifer. I think, and some of us have gone on the swing. I did the whole, let me get really in great shape for a while. And then I went, why bother? I'm going to sit home and drink wine and be in stretchy pants, like gaining full COVID-19. Why not? Now I'm back on the other end, like, oh, I got to come out of this strong. I got to lose all this weight and be ready on the other side of it. So I think as women, we've all done all of those, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I have. I mean, I did the quit drinking for a while, and then I was like, wait, I really miss wine, going back to that. So I think we're all over the map with this. I do want to jump to Jackie Jones. She is the one, I got her name wrong earlier. So now I not only got her name wrong, but I just jumped over her. So we're going to jump back to you, Jackie, with Vertical Roots. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on what has gone right, what's worked for you this year, and what you see as important in the future for this type of group. And share us a little bit about what you're bringing to this group, what your experience has been.
Sure. So first, thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored and excited to be a part of this group and have the opportunity to get to know each and every one of you a little bit better. So I think for 2020 and, you know, the pandemic, what I've learned the most is it's really just challenged me to work in a different way. It's challenged us to be much more creative. So my role at Vertical Roots is the Director of Operations. So I'm responsible for making sure that we continue to produce lettuce and continue to send that out to our customers. So we had a very unprecedented year, and we actually benefited very much from the pandemic and people having to, you know, change the ways they operate at home, and they started eating more at home, and we saw record numbers come through for the sales of lettuce. And so trying to navigate that time of, unforeseen demand and being responsive to that, but then also just rallying a workforce and bringing that team together at a time where, out in the world and in society, there's so many things going on, but really just kind of fostering a culture where we bring people together, creating a safe and work environment. So, it was really great, but it challenged us in that way because we didn't know what we didn't know. And we were all learning through this journey together.
Interesting. Yeah, and there were some industries like yours where I know I ate a ton of your lettuce and cooked a lot more and made many more salads from home during this. I'm sure I'm not the only one who was. But there are areas where people have gotten more busy. My daughter and I were having a conversation today and comparing like Peloton and the data around that. Someone did their senior thesis in her group around Peloton data. They actually got access to it and it was really fascinating. And then that, like we were talking about shoe sales. Like, why buy shoes? Like, no one's wearing shoes. So yeah, just some industry, like weird industry things that we weren't even thinking about as we look back at this year and who really struggled, And a hand up for somebody else who wants to share their thoughts on this year and the year ahead. Kim, I see your hand there, a little low, but I got you.
I'll put it up higher. And just I will, I'm here to support you, Nina, and all about the wine and in COVID. I'm here for you.
Thanks. I don't want to be the only one. Those sales have gone through the roof. I'd like to see the data around that.
Yeah, and somebody should do that project. Now I want to talk a little bit about, again, being in the fundraising space. We're kind of behind the times usually in our movement, and I've been working towards more remote work before this happened. And my team took the larger team, about 60 people, fully remote in 2 weeks, and we learned a lot. And in doing that, we also demonstrated what we could accomplish. And Jackie mentioned rallying the workforce, and that's exactly what happened. And we all came in together. And again, I'm at the medical university, so we are raising money for COVID, around COVID causes and frontline staff, healthcare workers. And it really brought that team together. And the thing that I've learned and I've truly appreciated right now is the fact that I'm communicating even more with my direct reports. The people I'm supervising, I've found I've had to be creative, and I see their personalities really coming out. I know those who are thriving being remote and those who are not. And I've learned how to, manage those people better. So I've grown quite a bit, and moving forward, I'm sure that, the work is going to change. Work has already changed. It's going to remain changed. And those organizations that are proactive about it and create the hybrid models, the different types of working, those of us who have truly embraced the no commute are not looking forward to going back to the office. So those things are very positive moving forward, because when you take an organization that's been around for 200 years, basically is what MUSC has been around, well, 150. We can actually attract talent from everywhere at this point. We can bring in the best and the brightest without them having to actually living in Charleston. So I think that opens up huge opportunities. And one of the things, to go back to your last question, we're talking about, the lack of women basically in tech, and those percentages are terrible. Same thing in not-for-profit fundraising. So 70% of your fundraisers are female. Well, 70% of the leadership in that same space is white male. So, this is an opportunity to change that. And I love that. You can tell I get a little excited about it. So I think that looking forward is a very big positive to come out of all of this.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And this opportunity for diversity. I think Christine Washington, you mentioned that on our call the other day, that you hope that we have some changes that stick out of this.
Absolutely. Really excited about the job market or the job search opening up beyond just the area where your company is located. And I think that's going to do wonders for people of color, for women, especially in technology. Really exciting. As a hiring manager, it's already kind of opened my eyes to, wow, I can attract talent in a whole new way. to further the cause of diversity.
Yeah. Well, another industry that's been really interesting, I don't know if you guys have been following it, is real estate. I did a keynote for a real estate group earlier this 2 months ago, month or two ago. They're off the charts, people moving, because they don't have to be where they were. People can work remotely. They're all moving from New Jersey to Charleston. That's what they're doing, and buying up houses. But there is a big shift that will be taking place. We will see some changes in the workplace that won't go back to how they were. You know, and other people who have commercial real estate property are really having a tough time because no one wants those buildings right now. So it's a real trade. It's a trade-off. Another hand up for someone who wanted to share along those lines. Suzie Rybicki.
Thank you. So if I can just mimic a little bit of what Kim and Christine said, I guess from a workplace perspective, I kind of see 3 different buckets of the biggest benefits of 2020. So the first one is I've seen such a huge shift of leaders who've had to learn to lead with empathy, which maybe has been missing from our world in the past. So the idea of acknowledging and supporting, whether I'm a single parent or I'm a part-time teacher, or, you know, my pet is walking through the Zoom call, or, you know, even with all the political landscape and the social unjust, there's just a lot of people struggling just with general health concerns or emotional wellness. And I feel like it's been such a nice shift for people to acknowledge and accept and be much more supportive in that way. So that's a huge benefit for sure. I think the other one, as mentioned, is, you know, leaders being more open to the idea of folks working remotely, and you don't have to sit across from your colleague to be just as effective. It's forced us to adopt and identify ways to maximize technology to keep people really engaged and collaborating within the workplace. And then the third area I would say too is I feel like a lot of companies that I've worked with in the past or just heard of is there's been leadership teams that have maybe felt that if they don't see you in the office or your butt in the seat, so to speak, then you're not working, which we all know that's not accurate. But I think that they've actually seen how with this remote situation, people have sometimes even been more effective, or they're putting in more time because they're not dealing with the commute back or forth, and they're actually servicing clients or partners in a more effective way. So I think that's been huge, and that will help us as we go into 2021 and beyond to be much more open to that.
There's certainly a shift. You know, I speak on resilience. That's one of the things that that's my keynote that I do. And part of that is when you're hit with something and you have to make a, you know, and something changes that's out of your control, like a pandemic, you have to adjust and change. You can't just keep doing what you've been doing and doing it more or harder. So grit isn't really a word you've heard much in 2020 because you can't just power through and keep going harder. You actually have to be resilient. You have to adapt and change. You have to keep adapting and going in the right direction. And so our companies, we're seeing them do that. They're not going to go back to how they were, longer days and just, you know, it's a definite shift that's going to keep going in a certain direction, and then it will adjust again as we all get back into offices. And someone mentioned earlier on the chat about conferences. I actually look forward to going to conferences and getting on a plane and being around people again. But a lot of people really are enjoying the virtual conferences and being able to stay at home in their stretchy pants and just get the information. So it just depends on where you come to it. Who else would like to share? Is there someone else that wanted to talk about the look at the future? I'll throw this out there to kind of pique some interest. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is, you know, many of us can all remember where we were at 9/11. We have our stories, like what happened when we heard that. And so sometimes when we go out and we'll have a glass of wine or be with our girlfriends or out with people, that conversation will turn to where were you when that happened? And we all have those stories. I see nodding heads. Yeah, we all have that story of where we were at that moment. I think 5 years from now, if we can just play this forward in the tech groups and rooms and conversations everywhere, 5 years from now, we're going to have that conversation. It's going to be, where were you in the pandemic of 2020? You know, how did you get through it? What changed? What was your story during that? Just like that 9/11 story, we're all going to have this story, but now we're going to have it globally, and there's no one left out. I mean, everyone made changes this year. So as we think about what we're doing during this time and what's changing, it is an opportunity for us to make sure that we're creating a story that we like or that we want to be proud of, besides my COVID-19 pounds, which, you know, not real proud of that, but I survived. I got through it. If all of those chips and salsa helped me get through it, and then that's what it took. But I think we all have our stories that we will have on the other side of this. So it's interesting to see companies will have the same thing, how they adjusted, how they changed, how they survived. And not all companies did survive. So we will feel thankful if we're with one that did. We will be thankful if we jump on to one that's maybe we haven't even thought about yet, but came about during this big struggle and change. So just food for thought as we look at where we're headed in 2021. With that, if there's not another hand up, and I don't see one, I'm going to throw this back to the other Nina in the group, because you know you can never have too many Ninas. And we'll throw back to Nina and let her wrap up. It has been really a pleasure to be with all of you. And congratulations to all the new board members. Good luck to all the new board members. You guys are lucky to have them. They're really amazing women. And I am just honored to be a part of this evening. So thank you for having me. Nina?
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina. This was an amazing panel. And thank you for jumping in on such short notice. How blessed we are that Jessica had the inspiration to invite you. I don't know how we would have done it without you. This has been such a huge gift.
We went out for wine, just for the record. It was all tied to wine. It's all tied to wine in 2020 for me and Jessica.
And I'm looking forward to when we can have gatherings where we provide wine, because that's always a fun part of our gatherings. Does anybody have any questions? Since we have a couple minutes, does anybody other than the panel have questions for the panel? Just if you want to put it in chat, or if you want to unmute. We have a couple of minutes if anybody has any burning questions. Otherwise, I'm going to read.
Nina?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have burning questions. I'm just bursting with all sorts of wonderful opportunities. I want to just congratulate everyone on the new positions with the board of directors. And I have a lot of NASA, NOAA, International Space Station stuff to work with for STEM education, for biotechnology, chemosynthesis. I have had calls with NOAA individuals, Southeastern Regional. You know, we have the support for Charleston Women in Tech. So please, 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 all the opportunities are rolling out. They just came out today and yesterday. And so Jenifer Albert, Jenifer Padilla, everybody, Stephanie, I'll be sharing it. I hope you don't mind, but it's all good stuff.
Great. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Nina! Okay. Hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
We've been at this how many years? And it's the sweetest thing that even though I'm out of the city and out of the country, I get to party with my ladies! Charleston Women in Technology! You know what to do! Give yourselves a round of applause, because we're making it through. There are many of you who have never been homebound in doing what you do, and you slipped into that world. And those of us who are disabled, you've increased the access that we can have to communicate. Because if the pandemic didn't happen, damn it, I wouldn't even get to see y'all. So, as we say in Jamaica, big up yourself and have a happy new year.
Absolutely, Brenda. This would not be a Women in Tech event if you hadn't stepped up and did your wonderful shout outs. And we miss seeing you in person, and I'm so excited that when we can get back to being in person and we can have you at our event taking photographs and getting everybody excited about the event. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Or maybe showing some travel. Hey, listen, we've got kids doing a lot of remote work here. I'm out of quarantine in a few days. I'm here for the next 3 months, and I'll be documenting everything I can. We've had kids coding up at, vegan farms and the whole nine. So tech is still strong here, trust and believe. The Jamaican Digital Corridor exists.
Maybe we should have our next event with Brenda in Jamaica.
No problem, baby.
Yeah.
Kamichi Villa can hold quite a few.
That's not such a bad idea.
Hey, the Wi-Fi's holding up.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea, because the GLOW program could bring in a lot of the individuals from Jamaica and the students from Jamaica. Absolutely.
Well,
tell me who I need to talk to, and we'll make the noise. Because the one thing about it is I've been from DOS world to tech side to disabled side to now actually the same social media that I help people navigate. I'm an object of. I've been going viral. So one has opportunities to bring things in. So tell me what you need, and I'll knock on some doors, ring some bells, make some posts, and get some stuff done. Because we got great women here doing great things. Ingrid Riley, Kadeen, they are great people. So let's make it happen.
Well, let us know, Brenda. Keep us posted.
And Miss Brenda, you've been with us from the very beginning, and you're a part of us, and it just would not be the same, especially during the holidays, without hearing your beautiful voice. So thank you.
And you go, folks. Give yourselves another round of applause. You are beautiful. Come on, turn those cameras on. We want to see you one by one. Come on, ladies.
You did it.
Happy to be here with you. I'm muting now.
Okay, thank you. Now, as we leave, please remember to jump on our silent auction. I put the link back in the chat. And if you feel that you've gotten something from Charleston Women in Tech this evening, or at any one of our other free events, or have you connected with someone, or if you hope to connect with someone, please think about bidding on an item or purchasing the custom crafted candle that we made, a limited edition. We only have about 40 of them, and they are beautiful, and they have the scent of orange blossom, basil, and champagne for $25. So please show up and help us keep it all going. And with that, I thank you all so much for being here. I couldn't be more delighted and grateful. Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Awesome holiday.